Peace, peace. I want to go through a few things, clear up some of the stuff from the older videos, and show you some of the stuff I found last night on Google Maps. Right? So we have allegedly an American native, but as we can see, he's an allegorical uh, picture of Othello, showing Othello's children, i.e., Moors, if we want to go with the allegorical sense of what Othello is. So as you can see, we're going to get into some of the hidden aspect. Do a little bit of reading, but I'll make it quick. On the coast of Guinea, antipodes of the Moluccas, according to Gomara, which Alonso de Palencia placed 7,000 miles and 20 days of navigation from the ports of Cadiz. So that's from Cadiz, Spain, to America, that much miles. So we, off the top, know we ain't dealing with the Avigano. Seem to indicate the beginning of a route in an east-west direction, the road del Blanco, to the use of the Indians, as Diego de Lepe would say. It signals the successions of Castilian banners planted in safe roads such as Orange Cape. And we're going to see a lot of that in the next video. We'll dig real deep in the next video on this subject. And the little sea, we find them in the De La Vela frequented port, which allowed to take a direction not missing north of Hispaniola. And that's Dominicans. A figure concealed the isthmus, perhaps indicating that being in litigation, where waters now frequented by Castilians. On the Portuguese map of Pires, two crossbows stand out. One leads from Europe to the Indies, the other from America to the end of the Good Hope, which is South Africa, on the way to Angola and East India. Latin and naval caravels indicate the ports. We find them in front of Pernambuco, the Maranon River, which was Madeira, and in the isthmus known as Kataski or Carthage. South of the Gulf of Carthage, Honduras. European strength. Remember the work of Diego Pires, now at sea, indicates the beginning of the Berber fisheries. And the last one, the way back gaining height. The fishing boats with the small caravels, mixed sailing and rowing, could choose alternative paths. But the usual Indian routes were three. The one that passed through the north of Sargasso Sea, frequented by English and fishermen, came to hit the coast of the codfish called Mediterranean. So we're dealing with and the northern areas near Maine, New York, Canada, and lakes. By Hurtado de Mendoza, what we call central way of the fleets. They went in search of the Antilles, entering the one of New Spain by the north of the island, or the passage of Guadalupe, being frequented that the one of Tierra Firme crossed through the channel between Martinique and St. Lucia. And you know Martinique and St. Lucia is the Caribbean. Tierra Firme is getting to South America. We're going to look at that in a second. The one in Brazil made a stop to the south of Caribbean in Mina and then Santiago de Cabo Verde, sailing through the open sea until they hit land in Pernambuco, which is Brazil. The southern one, preferred in the 15th century, was the Maranon. It was on the coast divided between the Canary Island on Castillo of Castillo, the Canary Islands of Castillo, and Madeiras of Portuguese. So you got the same places being called different things on different maps, and that's what we're gonna really dig into. And that's what it was about. Your maps might have had different names than other maps, so you're gonna see that. They went up to the Caribbean by the high seas, avoiding the low waters of the Placeo, which extended to the front of the Guinea of Los Rios and Cape Verde, entering the Caribbean through the Bocas de la Siriepe and Drago. It was abandoned in the 16th century because the Sharif had 300 leagues of coastline, not counting Guinea, not admitting interference from Christians in the Kingdom of Morocco. Now we're gonna see. Reduced the Portuguese to frequent the squares, and that's what he's called, like squares. Today we call them states or countries, which had which they had in the Amazon after the acquisition of La Marmora by Felipe III. The closest port in Spain for that part was in the Cape of Orange, subjected the American continent to constant movement of place names. See, used simultaneously or alternately Aboriginal, Muslim, Castilian, Portuguese, and European. So you see, they've been calling the names, different names in different places based off what the people who've been here say been, the people who've been Muslim to them say been, Castilian, Portuguese, which don't really make sense because Castilian and Portuguese would be European, I assume, but not to this book. People who study in these videos, we know these things are entities and can be anywhere in the world. Having disappeared between the end of the 16th century and the seventh decade of the 17th, the three rivers, green with many other names of the Guinea, which was renamed Guyanas. We know that from the last video. Being frequent even in our days that the cartographers omit or include the secondary ones without appearing to obey a fixed rule, the past is erased, allowing us to understand how the confusion was possible, which allowed to change the conquest of Africa to the Machiavelli and discovery of America. Machiavelli talked about the conquest of Africa, but he was talking about what we call the discovery of America, by calling it the conquest of Africa because he had to understand at this time that these places were Berberia, the land of the Moors. Okay, we'll see some of that later. The king of Castile called himself Lord of the Ocean Sea. The Catholics being no exception, they used the title on occasion, discarding it from the 1492, the year they incorporated the crown of the Canary Islands, conquered by Pedro de Vera, while the conquest, political and military, of Alonso Fernandez de Lugo, discovered by, quote unquote, discovered by Columbus, all the islands that were found and not said to have discovered any person. Because the other discoverers were by the industry that was the admiral to open the door, they were called kings of the Indies Islands. Quite because the land adjacent to the Canary Islands, especially the small sea in the Cape of Aguirre, was not included in the crowns mentioned. In 1495, they were legitimized by their ally Alexander VI, receiving endowment as king of their possessions. See, you're saying their, somebody else. Possessions in Africa, so called. The kingdoms included Western Asia, so called, better known as Indies or Tierra Firme. You see, all these names being called in these documents and under different names other than America. So we cannot be putting our past way, our modern way of thinking of these things into the past and expect us to know what people been talking about back then. We're talking about a lot of the Americas calling it Africa and West Asia and India and terra firma and stuff like that. In 1496, Isabel made an attempt to assert the title in Santa Cruz, but the navigation of the following year advised to forget it, stated that nobody had dared go to Paria before visiting the admiral. Pedro Medel gave the traditional meaning to the term discoverer. So they calling things discovery when it's not. When asked, it's really conquering. When asked, it is inevitable that Colon was on his course because Paria is the first thing on earth that they say firm is firm. Got the ship's touch. So that's what became firm land. Tierra firme. Not knowing where, so they didn't really know where they at on maps. Like they don't got an idea of exactly where they landing. Like, they got an idea, but they don't know officially as we know today when we can look through satellite at the shit. He confessed unable to confirm or deny that there had been a discovery, being the extensive province because it reached the Maranon, which is a river, which is to the east. With the passing of witnesses in time, Tierra Firma grew. So now a lot of places being known as Tierra Firma, no matter where they land over here, because that's where they think they at. Senorio Reynaldo Alfonso V, which started from Paria in the east, playing with the Tierra Alta de Castilla in the west. The Alonso de Santa Cruz cosmograph included Margarita and Cubagua, adding Fernando Beltran, the Nereco river that leaves, which is I think Orinoco nowadays, to the island of Trinidad, which is to the east, to finish the province of Cumana, including in its term the Amazon, because such a mighty river is mentioned that for sure the opposite was not visible, whose Huma was called Mar Dulce, continued to extend the confines of Marinon, reaching Cabo de San Agustin before changing the meaning of the place name, admitting that the two American coasts were mainland. He stopped designating a part to define the continent as a whole. So they thought really they could land on different islands until they realized they found a whole new continent allegedly found. Even though people and cities and all this already here. But what it was um, places like Tunis and Algiers and stuff like that. So we will see. We got an old map of terra firma. And that's what they even call terra firma on maps. You see the area. I've been searching this area last night for all place names, so you're gonna see something. The Gulf of Paria. You can see the Gulf of Paria up here. You see, she talking about Trinidad, and I think Rio Claro were mentioned, and Fernando got his own city in that motherfucker. And they even call it the Port of Spain up there. Drag on right there. And this ain't even, this is a different language. It's like a Dutch type version. You still find what a record book's been talking about. If they ain't gonna be able to change everything, it's gonna hope you ain't got the fortitude to go find these. Now we got Berberia, as according to Wikipedia, they attributed to this course, which is what we know of today as North Africa. But then if you go to the Spanish page, you see the spelling of all the kingdoms different, right? You see the spellings don't exist today over there. Marruecos, Morocco, Argelia, and Algeria, Tunis, and Libya. And you can see that these spellings no longer exist in these kingdoms today. So who these Spanish were talking about when they say they were going to Berberia, which was a firm land. And we got infirm land in today's time. We got La Argelia, which is Algiers, same area. Another Argelia. And as we go up, Tunis, the same area. We got Libya. We got Morocco, Marruecos. Let me see how they reduce it. They gonna reduce it to street names. This one interested in this Mauritania area of Argentina. We got Senegal Street, Gambia, Guinea. Like it's crazy. Austria. All the characters, Ethiopia. All the characters in the story that they will replace these place names. They just they marginalize it because you can't make the people not remember the place names. And they read a story about how they used to give you 100 lashes if you continue to use old place names. So in different places, the government conquerors have methods of making you forget these names, but at the end of the day, they have to do something with them. And they say they just marginalize them like this. This whole area is known as Mauritania, right here. And it's off the coast of Argentina, which is said to be Mauritania in all records. Right now they call Argentina, the land of silver. Mauritania means the land of Moors. Just like Berberia would mean the land of Berbers. The area of terra firma. We got even Amari in the same area, which would be a French version of that. We got a Maurilandia, which would kind of be like a Dutch-like, English-like version of it. But it still means more country of Moors. And countless of these marginalized version of this in the same area where the old maps and the old documents say it should be. But you expecting just to show you a map we got a big ass Mauritania going from right here to right there. You fooling yourself. They at war with Moors. It's holy wars. They can't show you not like this. And this one, when I type this in, they show me this, but they show me what they call today Goyas. Take that for what it were. They switch it themselves when you type in Maurilandia. They're gonna automatically switch it to Goya. They're gonna know where it's at, but they're gonna give you. That's why I like Google Maps, keeping it real. So I want to show to the next one. Next one gonna be digging a little deeper into this and getting into some in North America, some of the hidden aspects of this whole empire.